Welcome back to KMM Tech. Today we're going to talk about Rule Machine and how it's evolved over the last year or so. If you look at my rules, you'll see that I have Rule 2.5, Rule 4.0, Rule 3.0. It has evolved quite a bit over the last year. And I'm going to show you kind of three examples of the different kinds of changes that they've made. So if you look at this is Rule 2.5. So you'll see that we have conditions, we have defining rules, actions for true, actions for false. And then down here we had restrictions, okay? Then if we go to our other rule, this rule here is a 3.0 rule. You'll see that it looks a little bit different, but we still have our restrictions down here. We have trigger events, we have actions, and then we have our restrictions still. Now if you go to Rule 4.0, you'll see that at the bottom of the page, there are no more restrictions. So this has caused a little bit of confusion because how do you have the rules restricted? So in the previous examples, like for this one, for example, this one says that if the sliding door is open, it's going to turn on the backyard light, and when it's closed, it's going to turn off the backyard light. And that's only going to happen between the time of sunset and sunrise. Well, if I go back to this over here, you'll see that there is no restriction over here. So how do I go ahead and do that? And that is using an if-then statement. So if you look at this rule in particular, you'll see that if the garage door sensor is opened, if the mode is arrival, it is then going to set the volume of the kitchen speaker to 100%, speak this on the kitchen speaker, and then switch the volume back to 40%. So this right here, this if part, is actually my restriction that we had back in Rule 2.5 and Rule 3.0. That is no longer here. It is now done through these if-then statements. And I'm going to show you how all of that works. So let's jump into Rule Machine here. And we're going to create a new rule. And we're going to do a 4.0 rule. Now I already have a rule called delete, which I didn't delete from last time. So we'll call this delete 2. All right, so the first thing you need to do is you need to decide what your trigger event is going to be. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to have a light turn on a certain day. Certain day during a certain time, and only when the mode is a certain mode. So there's 3 conditions that we're going to have to be met. But what's going to actually trigger that is the opening of the front door. So in this case, we're going to go to a trigger event. We're going to go to set, and we're going to contact, because that is a contact sensor on my front door. So front door sensor, we'll hit update. When that contact sensor becomes open, okay, and we're done with our trigger events. So our trigger event is the front door sensor being open. Okay, now we're going to go into our actions. So you have a couple options here. You can go through and you can create the conditions here and then manage them later. I like to go through and create the actual if-then statement and then build the conditions into the if-then statement that way. But you can do it either way. You can create the conditions first and then add your if-then statement and then put them in, and I'll show you where you do that. So in this case, we're going to go to conditional actions, and it will allow us to have an if-then statement or a simple conditional statement, which is an if statement. So in this case, we're doing if-then statement. Most of the time, you're going to be using an if-then statement. If these conditions are met, then something is going to happen. So in this case, the condition is, this is where if you had created the conditions before, you can select them. See, the front door sensor being open is one of the conditions that you can have. I need to create some new conditions. So we're going to go to new condition. And if you remember, one of the conditions that I wanted was the mode condition. And in this case, I want it to be arrival. Okay, now we need to figure out how we want all of these conditions to be met. So your choices are and, or exclusive or. I'm going to show you quickly what exclusive or is about. So if you look, here's the exclusive or table. So if you have 2 inputs that are false, the output is false. If you have one that's false, one that's true, the output is true. If you have one input that's true, one that's false, it's true. And if you have 2 trues, it's actually false. So that's what XOR is. It doesn't really apply to what we're doing here. We're just going to use an AND statement, but just know that you have the option to do the exclusive OR statement as well. So we're just going to go to and because I want all three of these conditions to be met. So the condition that we need is a new condition. So we have mode as arrival, and I said we want it to happen only on certain days of the week. So we're going to go to days of the week, and we're going to have this happen on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that's it. And we're going to have one more and statement, and that is going to be a new condition as well. And it's going to be a time of day. And I want it to be in between two different times. So we're going to go to a specific time, and it's going to be 6 o'clock p.m. and end at 8 o'clock p.m. So this is like setting the restrictions back in Rule Machine 2.5 and Rule Machine 3.0. I'm going to hit done with condition and done with conditional action. And done with actions for right now. I'm actually not done yet. We're going to go back into it, but I just want to run through the rule that we have so far. So what we have is if the front door sensor is open, that's what's going to trigger this rule. It's going to say, okay, the front door sensor is open. Now, if the mode is arrival and the day is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, and the time is 6 o'clock p.m. and 8 o'clock p.m., it's in between those two times, then something is going to happen. I haven't told it what it's going to happen yet, so we're going to do that right now. We'll go back to the actions here, and we're going to select an action type. And we're going to control switches, and we're going to turn a switch on. And just for this example, we'll turn on the master bedroom TV light and hit update. And we're done with this action. And we're done with all actions in this case. So just to review, when the front door sensor is open, it's going to run this rule. It says if the mode is arrival and the day is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, and the time is between 6 and 8 p.m., then the master bedroom TV light will go on. If only one of these conditions is met or only two of these conditions are met, then it will not work. All three of them need to be met, okay? So if you look here, you'll see that mode is arrival false. It's not the mode is actually in the home mode right now because I'm home. The day happens to be Wednesday, so that statement is true, but it's not in between 6 and 8 p.m. So in this case, this rule will not fire if I open that front door. So that's a little bit about conditional statements and how to use restrictions inside of the new Rule Machine 4.0. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and we'll see you guys next time. See ya.